Hey, what is up guys? Alex here and welcome back to my channel. I recently did an install of a Cobra 19 DX4 CB radio, and I got to a point where I was able to mount and install and power up the system. And for those of you who haven't seen that installation video, please go ahead and click on this link right over here. And this is actually part 2 of that installation, as this video will address the installation of the CB radio antenna. And as you can see here, I have all the items that I need to install it, and we'll be going over that quickly. So I hope that you stick around. Let's go over the installation, and let's learn how to do this together. Okay, so for parts, we have the 36-inch tunable FireStik 2 antenna, and I have a spring mount also by FireStik, and the lower antenna mount over here that installs onto the bracket. And speaking of which, we have a bracket here that I just got from a local hardware store. The holes actually line up perfectly with the mounting bracket of my billy bars, so I'm very happy that that will work out perfectly. And I also have an RG58 coax cable, and we'll need to install the other end of it that mounts onto the CB radio back. And that's pretty much it. And as far as tools are concerned, pretty basic wrenches and pliers and what have you. So as far as the parts are concerned, I'll be listing every single item on the description below, so go ahead and check that out, and let's get to this. So what we have here are the FireStik coax cable with the PL259 heavy duty mount, and we also need to assemble the tip of our coax cable that will be plugged into the radio unit. So this one has already been pre-stripped and pre-soldered, so all we got to do is attach it to this tip. And this also has the fire ring terminal, so let's assemble that first, as this is the easiest portion of the install. So make sure that you follow this order. This one goes through your mount, the antenna mount, onto the truck, and the fire ring goes next with the plastic washer and the regular washer, and then the lock nut and this mount over here. So once we mount the antenna to the truck, we'll undo this again, and we'll show you how this is put together. So as far as this is concerned, we'll be doing some soldering and whatnot. So I got my soldering iron, and also have a multimeter here so we can test for continuity after we do the install. Okay, so all you got to do is sort of brush or push the braided wiring down up against the insulation, like so, and disassemble this. Then slide this in as it screws up, basically twisting clockwise until I guess it stops. Alright, so that took about 20 turns right there. So I don't know if you can see that clearly here, but there's a little bit of wire protruding relative to the tip of this connector, so I'm just gonna snip that out, level it off. There you go. I'm just using the channel lock to give it some weight, so we can solder this end right here. So after assembling the other end of the RG58 coax cable, I ran the cable through, and basically I wanted a clean install, so I ran the cable underneath the truck in between the bed and the cab. And I don't know if you can see it here, but here's the cable coming out of the bed, and I just basically slid this underneath the tonneau cover, and the cable right here just drops in between the bed and the cab as mentioned, and it goes out to the other side, running underneath the cab, and comes out on the passenger side. So let's just go to the other side so I can show you how I ran that. So from underneath the truck, I fished the cable directly below the passenger seat. There's a grommet that sits under here, and to access that, all you gotta do is pull out this cover here, and if you lift this carpet, you can see the cable, the coax cable, coming out from a grommet that you can access underneath the truck. Let me see if we can see it from here, but it's basically, yep, that grommet right there. Fish it through that, comes right here, and then just run it along this line over here, and it's coming out that way, and plugs in directly to the CB radio. Once I put in my WeatherTech floor liner, it will cover it up and protect it as well, so that's not going to be an issue being stepped on or anything like that. So as far as the cable running underneath the cab, make sure that you don't tie it into any part that moves or anything that is hot that could melt it or burn the insulation. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the coax cable. So when you're installing a CB radio and an antenna, make sure that the antenna is properly grounded. As you can see here, I ran a ground, and this is attached to the chassis of the truck. And before I install this bracket, which is painted, as you can see here, I'm gonna have to shave off some of the paint, so we'll have nice clean contact between metal to metal. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that with a rotary tool, and that should be pretty quick and easy. Okay, so as you can see here, I've shaved off some of that painting off of the bracket, so we'll have a good contact between the ground and the bracket, so our antenna will be properly grounded. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and finish mounting this bracket and the ground, and then we'll start assembling the antenna. So now that we've installed and grounded our antenna bracket, we can now install the other end of the coax cable. And to do so, it's very important that you follow the configuration that pretty much how it came in from the factory. So let me just disassemble this first so I can show you. Okay, so we have the bolt, and you slide that into your bracket, and then your plastic spacer, so you slide this in. Then you have your regular washer, lock washer, and you got the stud mount. There you go. So make sure it's nice and tight. Next one to install is the spring mount. Make sure that's there nice and tight as well. Then last but not least is our antenna. So we'll just go ahead and unpack this. And this antenna is actually tunable, so we'll figure that out on another video, but just to quickly show you, this one turns. I guess that's for your tuning. It also comes with a protective cover. So we'll go ahead and slide this in. All right. And go ahead and screw this one on. Just bring the camera up so you can see. So it's just a direct screw onto the spring mount. Alrighty, so that completes our installation. Okay, so let's just have a look at our installation here. As you can see, this bracket is actually a little longer than I want it to be, so our next project when I get a chance is to cut this out. That should make it look a lot nicer. And also the antenna is sticking out and past the garage door. So let me just drive this truck out of the garage anyway and see how well the spring works. Hopefully they'll bend as expected. So let's just do that for demo. I'm gonna drive the truck out of the garage to see how well that spring mount actually works, and hopefully it functions as expected. So keep an eye on the antenna and see how this goes. So there you have it, guys. Our installation is now complete, and pretty simple installation. It's just a little few steps that you need to do. Our little demo there showed that our spring works, and obviously it's not something that I'll be doing on a regular basis, but I wanted to try it out anyways, as this can really happen on a real off-roading situation where the antenna can get caught on a branch or a tree or anything along the way. So I'm glad that that worked. Our antenna is still intact, the mount is still intact, and everything worked out well. And one thing that I forgot to mention is we need to make sure that your bracket and your antenna is properly grounded. So test for grounding for continuity. Make sure that the bottom part is actually grounded and the top part is not. So test for that using your multimeter, and that should be pretty much it. So thanks guys for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with me through the installation, and I hope that you guys learned something new today. And for those of you who haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing to my channel. And to my subscribers, thank you so much for following me as usual. So until the next video, and you know how it goes for now. If you can be anything, you might as well be nice.